You guys, so the international break is over. Real Madrid took on Leganes. They scored first. Leganes responded. Then Leganes scored again. And then Real Madrid responded, and then something happened, and we need to talk about it. But first, Atletico Madrid drew to Espanyol a day out of the La Liga title race. We will be talking about all of this and more in this episode of the Just Max Show. But if you haven't seen my face before, hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Just Max, and on this channel we talk about football from La Liga to the Prem and of course the UEFA Champions League. So if that is something that you are very much interested in, please stick around, be my friend, be my homie. I would very much love to talk about football with you. But without further ado, let us dive right into today's action of the La Liga. Now, I have to begin this coverage by stating I am so sorry that I was not able to come on here to talk about Barcelona's game versus Osasuna. Of course, Barcelona did end up winning that game on Thursday 3-2. I was just very indisposed, so I could not come on. That was a very wonderful display from Barcelona. It was a game that was very tricky because they were just returning from the international break, and of course, they did not have a full squad available to them because many of the players were still on international break or were just returning from international break and did not have the requisite rest. But if you thought that Barcelona were going to show up to a match at the Montjuic, essentially at home, to Osasuna unprepared, you must have had something else cooking, because Hansi Flick set up a team that from the word go you could tell that they meant business. Lewandowski was on the score sheet. Ferran Torres scored for Barcelona. And Barcelona, if you were not aware of the situation leading up to that moment, you would not have known that Barcelona actually did not have their choice squad on the pitch. Since that game had been played, Barcelona have now been facing a complaint from Osasuna talking about the fielding of Inigo Martinez and whether or not, it was an ineligible player being fielded, and therefore Osasuna have taken them to court essentially. If you would like me to talk about that in detail, please let me know in the comment section. I am just itching to talk about that, but I only want to talk about things that you're interested in watching, so let me know about that in the comment section. Now that we've briefly touched on that game from last week, let us now dive into today's game. Now, we really want to talk about the Real Madrid game, but I have to give Espanyol their spotlight because at the start of this week, we had a 3-horse race. Yes, Atletico Madrid were wobbling, but they were still essentially in it. But as of today, after dropping points to Espanyol in their clash in La Liga, can we officially say that the La Liga title race is now a 2-horse race? I think so, but let me know what you think in the comment section. I want to give Espanyol their flowers. They are low-key helping Barcelona along this title race. Yes, Espanyol fans will say they do not give a freak about Barcelona, but Espanyol this season, yes, they are relegation threatened, but they have managed to not only take points off of Real Madrid. They did win that game 1-0, but today they drew Atletico Madrid 1-1. And I thought it was just a very good display. They looked good. Atletico Madrid, for their part, I feel like they're still feeling the results of, what had happened before the international break. They just never looked like they were interested in playing that game, in my opinion. They were flat. When we saw Atletico Madrid go on that 15-game run of form, where they briefly beat Barcelona to go top of the La Liga table, they were in free-flowing football. That's the kind of Atletico Madrid I had thought will come back, after being able to rest I wanted to say they rested, but they really didn't. They were on international duty. But I thought that would be the kind of mentality that they would have come back with for this stage of the competition. We are headed into the business end of the La Liga season. There were 10 games left, or 9 for Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid now. So I really thought that Atletico Madrid would try to make the most out of it. They did not do that as of today, and so now they are currently 7 points behind Barcelona. And if Barcelona are able to win their game tomorrow, they will be 9 points behind Barcelona, and for me, at the stage of the season, they are officially out of the title race. But now let's talk about the game between Real Madrid and Leganes, because if you haven't watched this game, if you didn't watch this game, well, sit back and relax. Let me put you on game, because this is a doozy. If you weren't there, if you didn't watch it, and you saw the scoreline and you saw a scoreline of 3-2, and you read the statistics line, and the statistics will tell you that Real Madrid were very dominant in this game, you probably will not get the full context of the story because you weren't there. But don't worry about it, because I was there. I watched it all, and I will tell you about it. Now, like I mentioned, a lot of the players were on international duties, so of course this meant that Ancelotti had to think of the overall health of the squad. So he fielded a team that consisted of Andrea Lunin, not the regular Thibaut Courtois in goal. Then we had Lucas Vazquez coming in the right back position, Raul Asensio, who was, yes, with the Spanish national team, but he didn't play any minutes for the Spanish national team, so he did start this game. Antonio Rudiger did come back into his position, and Garcia rounded out the back line for Real Madrid in this game. Then we did see Luka Modric come on. I was surprised to see Luka Modric start this game, because Luka Modric did play for Croatia in the international break. He did have he was a very prominent player for Croatia during the international break. So, and he didn't finish this game, so I guess that makes sense. Camavinga was also here in the midfield. Ada Goulet, Jude Bellingham, and Brahim Diaz rounded it out with Kylian Mbappé in Real Madrid's attacking line. And honestly, from the get-go, they look good. I cannot even lie. But I haven't played against Leganes this season. I think many of you might not know this, but the game against Leganes was one of the very earliest games I covered on this channel. I never really talked about why I really started talking about football. Maybe I will if you guys keep watching this, and if you want to hear the story, maybe at the end of the season, if you want to hear the story of why I turned on my camera and decided to start recording and talking about football, maybe I could do that towards the end of the season. But Leganes was one of the first games I covered on this channel. I remember they played Barcelona. They had scored against Barcelona a very early goal, and they had entered immediately into a low block that Barcelona have found it very difficult to break them. So yes, coming into this game, I did not really expect anything less from Leganes. I expected them to play premium haram ball. I expected them to pack the balls. I expected them to do whatever it is that they are going to do to secure this game. Mind you, Leganes also took points against Atletico Madrid and Athletic Bilbao. So yes, they might not be a top 5 team, but they are always there to make a mess out of themselves when the big boys shows up. But so when this game started and they were playing, I thought the shape when they were out of the ball possessions was good. It showed me that they wanted to defend, although to be fair, I would have preferred, as a Barcelona fan myself, I would have preferred if they entered a low block. They did not do that in this game. They were more attacking side than I have ever seen them. I have to admit that, like, this was the most attacking football that I have seen from Leganes, and I was kind of surprised. They did absorb a lot of pressure from Real Madrid, but whenever they were on the counter, they were very little. They were very deadly. They looked very good whenever they pressed forward. Real Madrid had a lion's share of the possession, but I have to keep mentioning this. Leganes made a good account of themselves. Now, before we end up talking about what exactly happened in the game and how the goals come about, I want to talk about the shots and the statistics, just to give you a bit of context. Then we can discuss what I really think about this game. In this game, we had 24 shots for Real Madrid and 10 shots for Leganes. Now, you would think that Real Madrid represent Leganes, and no, that's not what happened at all. 10 shots on target for Real Madrid, 4 shots on target for Leganes, and of course they scored 2. Real Madrid had 71% possession of the ball versus Leganes 29% possession of the ball. But let me tell you, in that first half, if there was any team that looked like they were going to score and score again, it was Leganes and not Real Madrid, in my opinion. Other people will say different, but in my opinion, it was them. Now, let's go ahead and talk about this game and how did the goals come about. Real Madrid had the lion's share of the possession in this match. There was a ball that was played through to Adegula. He was in the penalty box. He did get his leg a little bit tangled up with the player and the Leganes player, and then he goes down in the box and it's immediately flagged for a penalty. Kylian Mbappé takes a very, very cheeky chip of the goalkeeper, and it's 1 goal for Real Madrid. Honestly, what are my thoughts upon this sequence of play? I did not think that I gave that penalty for Real Madrid was a penalty. We have to state that Real Madrid are the most awarded penalty side this season. I think, if I remember correctly, and you guys can keep me honest in the comment section, but they have had, I think, 11 penalties, maybe, I don't know, but keep me honest if I'm wrong. But they've received the most penalties in La Liga this season, and in my opinion, it was not a penalty. If anything, it should have been awarded a free kick to Leganes. That is what I saw. Now, I'm not saying that the referees were wrong. I'm just saying, in my eyes and in my humble opinion, after watching this match, I would have never, if I were the referee in that situation, which granted I am not, I would have never awarded that as a penalty. Adegula, he flops, he falls on the floor, he tangles his leg with the player, and if anything, the player did get the ball first. But all of that to say, I would not have awarded the penalty, but now that the penalty have been awarded, it was a wonderfully well taken penalty by Kylian Mbappé. What a goal! The way he took it, the confidence. I remember there was a time earlier this season when Kylian Mbappé was missing penalties and people were dogging on Kylian Mbappé for being washed and how he is not the player that Real Madrid thought that they were going to sign, yada yada yada, boom boom car. But look at him now. Look at the way he's playing for Real Madrid. The audaciousness to be able to chip that goalkeeper. Mind you, the goalkeeper had made a couple of saves up until that point. So yes, this is not anyhow kind of goalkeeper. The Leganes goalkeeper was having a shift. So to have that confidence to chip the goalkeeper, such a very stylistic penalty. Good on you, sir. Good on you, sir. But in the same breath, I have to give it to Leganes, because while watching this game, I thought that Leganes are a very defensive team, and now that Real Madrid have gone ahead to score the goal, I do not see how they were going to come back. But Leganes were surprisingly surprising. They did not back down, and immediately after the goal was scored, 30 seconds later, they had the ball in the back of the net for themselves. They had scored. If it was a situation of if you blink, you miss it. And it all started from the kickoff of the match. And then they put together a very quick counter attack. It was very, very, very poor defending for Real Madrid, which, by the way, I have been saying all season since I started making football videos on YouTube. I have been saying that Real Madrid defense is non-existent, and I don't keep understanding how they keep getting away with it. So Leganes today exploited that shambolic defense from Real Madrid. There was a little bit of a conversation about whether or not it was offside. It was not, because the Real Madrid defenders, they just did not communicate, and it was very, very well done. I think I'm not really sure, but it was so quick. It couldn't have been up to 10 passes before it got into the net. Very, very, very wonderful response from Leganes. And if anything, in that moment, I felt like that goal gave Leganes the impetus, the gall, the temerity to then go for the match, because they suddenly started to push more. And you would have thought that Real Madrid were the ones who were going to be pushing for the game, but no. Leganes started to push more. They pushed so much more that they got themselves a second goal, and I was flabbergasted. Now, granted, I am, and it's on this channel, it's always going to be Vizca Barca. For me, I am a Barcelona fan. I am always going to say that. But when I do talk about football and I do talk about rival clubs, I try my best to be honest and to be fair. And today, Leganes, when they got that second goal, I was screaming. I could not believe that they had scored that second goal. And again, it was how quick. Again, it stemmed from another counter attack. Very quick. And the way they slot the ball past Andre Lunin. Mind you, at that point, Andre Lunin hadn't had much to do. So for him to be able to concede goals that very quickly, he must not have liked that. He must not have liked that. And honestly, to be fair, to be honest, I was very excited. But there's something about champions that, the cream will always rise to the top. And of course, we go into the half with Leganes leading. And I thought, if you listen, I said on my TikTok, and I'm not even going to lie, I'm not going to be ashamed. I was like, Leganes, I need you guys to go into a low block, shield wall, hold, because of course I want Barcelona to have that kind of advantage, to be able to stretch their lead forward. So I did say that on my TikTok. By the way, if you're not following me on TikTok, you're missing out. Please click the link in my bio, or click the link in the description. So I'll just link it there anywho. Click the link in the description and follow me on TikTok, because there are a lot of videos that I post on TikTok that don't make it on here to YouTube. So you're missing out on a whole different world of content, of course, around football that I don't post here. But also, if you're watching this video and you've watched up to this point, I want to put you on a game. I also post a lot of short form content. Like sometimes when I don't have, the space to make a long-term video like I'm doing right now, I will put those on short form content. So really, my channel is always active with content from all the games. Yes, I might not post long-term videos. I started this video by saying that I apologize for not making long-term content for this channel or talking about the Barcelona versus Osasuna game. But in reality, I did post short form content about that game. So if this is something that you're interested in, don't just wait for my long form content. Always check for my short form content on here as well. But let us get back into this video, because we're talking about the second half. And very quickly, Jude Bellingham comes up big for Real Madrid. I want to take a step back. Yes, I do think that Pedri is the best midfielder in the world, in Europe. He is the best midfielder. I don't think that there is a comparison between what Pedri can do and what Jude Bellingham can do. In my opinion, there are two different profiles of players. I think that they play two different ways. But today, I have to give Jude Bellingham, and not just today, but every other day, I have to give Jude Bellingham his flowers today for his awareness, his passion, his intensity, the way he knew to chase that ball down, like the rebound, like they had hit the ball, like a lot of ball watching was going on, but he was just like a cheetah, very pounced. He just pounced on the ball and was able to get on the rebound to get it behind any of the Leganes defenders and into the back of the net. That is something that you want to see from a team that wants to win. That hunger to get back. And of course, that happened within the 47th minute of the game. So it's immediate response after the half. If you're a Real Madrid fan at that moment, you're excited to see that, because that sends a message to the rival team that you guys are here for business and you guys are here to win this game. I have to give it to Leganes, though. That did not phase them, whether that be in defense or attack. Yes, they will end up absorbing a lot of pressure. They did have a few moments of their own, but of course they're not having the same level of quality in front of goal that Real Madrid have. So they did end up squandering a few chances that if they had taken it, they could have won this game. There was a moment, I would say, where a Leganes player had himself running through on goal on Andre Lunin, and then Jude Bellingham, wraps it, he brings him down. Let me just say what it is. It brings him down in the 18th. The referee did not give the penalty. It was a soft call, but it was a call nonetheless. Granted, as a neutral, I'm more looking at the player for not having the, wherewithal to play the ball to at least test the goalkeeper. Granted, the goalkeeper did rush out, make himself big, put the player off his stride. So Andre Lunin, good on you then. But I felt like the Leganes player should have done a lot better in that situation. Be that as it may, if you are going to give Ada Güler a penalty in the first half for basically throwing himself to the ground after tangling his feet with, I felt like what was good for the goose should have been good for the gander. That did not happen in this case. And I was at that point, I was like side-eyeing the ref because I was like, okay, cool, no problem. But like, no problem. And then the third goal from Kylian Mbappé was going to be scored through a free kick. And again, this one aggravated my spirit a little bit because I did not think that that was a foul. I think it was Rodrigo who was running, taking the ball and running, and then the Leganes player had made a tackle that, took the ball away from Rodrigo, but he did end up going down in the process. It was at a very dangerous area in front of the Leganes defensive area. So the ref did end up giving a free kick for Real Madrid. And immediately I remember saying on social media, like, no, this looks suspicious. Like, this ref is acting sus, because like it was not a foul, in my opinion. It was not a foul. Like, it was not a foul. That opportunity, that scoring opportunity, like, it was not a foul. It should have never been given as a foul. If anything, it was a goal kick. Do you see what I'm saying with this? I just don't like it when referees decide to insert themselves in a game and make themselves the talking point of a game. Granted, I think that Real Madrid, even though I wanted Leganes to draw this match, I think that Real Madrid would have easily won the match. I just don't like when referees insert themselves. So right now, instead of also be talking about the brilliance of the Real Madrid play, we're now talking about, the fact that, should it have been a free kick or should it not have been a free kick? Was it a foul? Was it not a foul? These are the kind of things that I don't like, and it's not something that is very difficult, in my opinion, to have seen, if you ask me, because it's just a matter of checking the VAR. And if he had checked the VAR, he would have easily seen that that was not a free kick any day of the week. However, he did give a free kick, and I have to say to Leganes, for the team that put up a very huge defensive masterclass against Barcelona earlier this season, for the team that made me do a video on here on YouTube that looked as if I was going to cry, for the team that put on that defensive display, what was that? In terms of defending, the wall totally broke down. Kylian Mbappe's ball was able to go through. At the very least, you guys should have stayed compact. The ball would have hit you guys and rebounded. Like, that was such a defensive fail. And I was left asking myself, what is this team? This is not the team that played against Barcelona in terms of being defensive. You guys go back and watch that Leganes Barcelona game and then come back and watch my earlier Barcelona versus Leganes review. I was almost in shambles. I was almost in tears. But this is not the Leganes I saw today. The Leganes I saw today, no, that was very, 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 very bad defending. But from a Kylian Mbappé perspective, I am hearing that this is his first ever free kick goal in his professional career. And I say good on you, sir, because you absolutely deserved. Anywho, the game will go on to end 3-2 in favor of Real Madrid. Real Madrid are currently leveled with Barcelona on points. Barcelona will play tomorrow against Girona in the Montjuic, and I do expect Barcelona to win that game and go back 3 points ahead of, Real Madrid, though not to jinx it, knock on wood, knock on wood, knock on wood. But yeah, it was a very good game. Right now, in terms of the Pichichi race, with the 2 goals scored today, I think that Mbappe has now caught up to Robert Lewandowski, and they are both on 22 goals. I think so, but keep me honest if I am wrong. But let me know what you thought about this game. Was I right in the way I judged that penalty and the free kick? What did you think about Real Madrid performance in this game? What did you think about Atletico Madrid just essentially bowing out of the title race? And who do you think would end up winning this thing at the end of the season? Let me know all of this and more in the comment section. I will be back to talk about Barcelona's game against Girona, so please do come back for that. But until next time, bye guys.